how important is it to get feedback during the design process?
So important. I think it's likely pretty standard across the board. Kind of look around for some inspiration of similar things, not even necessarily in like industry or type, but like just kind of same sort of functions and features. And then that kind of helps give sort of kind of a foundational idea. And then oftentimes I sketch a little bit. Usually that helps me with kind of the information architecture standpoint. So kind of base layout and where certain things live. And I do move pretty quickly into working on the computer because I'm just faster and more efficient on it. But I would say like I get a lot of inspiration just from like general internet surfing. So one time I was working on a checkout process on an application. I was really struggling with how like the billing and checkout should go. And then later that night I was just like shopping online for me. I bought some new clothes. And whatever site I was using just had a really awesome experience. And so that served as inspiration for the very next day I went in, and I kind of like just used that same kind of flow and idea and was able to crank it out to work for the application I was working on. So I think really constant and really small feedback loops are really important, and getting it from a wide variety. So normally I think we think, oh, feedback loops from like our clients and then maybe like fellow designers, but I actually get my feedback first and foremost from my developers. So that's who I show my designs to first, and so they tell me if something looks like it will work. And so they're looking at less like how pretty it is, and they look at like, okay, this is over here, but does this go here? What happens when we do this? I think they make me the strongest designer in how things should work and how things should function. Visual design is so subjective and it's I think so secondary, so it's like form follows function. So they're not my biggest critics, but I think my biggest like strengthening and best like feedback that I get. And so that's the feedback that I need to start to make sure that the function is there and that it's working correctly before I even think about like aesthetics of it. And then when I get into aesthetics, I'll bring in like fellow designers and we'll start looking at it with the client. And so the client looks at it from both perspectives. They first look at, do things like fit right? And if there's no comments on design, usually that means that's a really good thing, because it means that they're bypassing it because it works already and they're just looking at how it functions. And then when we get feedback from actual users, that emphasizes kind of the experience and the flows and if everything is working correctly or where they need it to be. So kind of all these loops from all these different like segments of people who are involved in the product somehow, whether it's building it, owning it, or using it, are all incredibly important.